In this tutorial, we are going to learn about constants and macros. Now, a constant is a variable whose value once assigned can never be changed again. Now, constant is a variable. You need to understand this, that constant is a variable. Constant is not a data type. Constant is just a behavior for any variable that it does not allow changing the value of the variable. Now, let's declare a constant. Now, constants are declared using const keyword. So, the basic syntax is const data type variable name is equal to value. So, let the data type be int, let the variable name be x, let the value be 5. So, let's print this value, printf %d comma x. So let's try and run this. So as you can see, 5 is getting printed. Now let's try and change its value. So x is equal to 6. Now let's try and run this. It is giving an error that assignment of read-only variable x, that is, x is a read-only variable. So its value cannot be changed. So you can use constants in places where you want a variable to have a fixed, non-changing value. Getting it? Now, constants are normal variables and variables require memory space. So, if you use more constants, then your program will cost more memory space. So, why to use a name for a value which is never going to change? The name is a variable, by the way. So, instead of using constants, you can directly use the non-changing values in the program everywhere, such as printf, %d and 5. Better option, isn't it? Of course not. If you use those values directly everywhere in the program, and if in future you want to change the value, you will have to change it everywhere in the program. And this will be a very big problem for a million of lines of code. So what to do now? Don't worry, we have one more option, that is the macros. Now what are macros? Macros are not variables, but they are similar to variables. Using macros, you give a name to a value, but this name and this value is not stored in the memory. In fact, it is not stored at all. You just use the name everywhere in your program instead of the value, and when you compile the code, that's something called as a preprocessor unit. This preprocessor first replaces these macro names with their values, and hence the code which gets compiled has no macro names and has only the values instead of the names. Hence, they do not require memory space. This doesn't happen with the variables. So let's define a macro. Now macros are created using the hash define preprocessor directive. So let's create a macro. We'll write hash define my macro 10. So that's it. So let's try and print this macro. Printf %d comma my macro semicolon. So let's try and run this. As you can see, 10 is getting printed. So in this tutorial, we learned about macro and constants. So that's it for this tutorial. See you later.